Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer Science Academy Bengaluru. This is topic of the day. Today we'll discuss about recent launch of ISRO, that is Gsat 7R or also called as CMS-03. We'll discuss why is it significant, where is it placed, and which launcher was used to launch this, and also its significance to India economically, strategically, and geopolitically. Okay, so Gsat 7R strengthening India's maritime and space capabilities. We'll discuss everything about this. So the overview on November 2nd, 2025, that is the Sunday of last week, Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO, successfully launched GSAT 7R. What do you mean by GSAT? GSAT is nothing but geosynchronous satellite. That is the full form of GSAT. CMS means Communication Satellite 03, an advanced communication satellite designed for, very important, designed for Indian Navy. This launch took place from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, and it was launched using most powerful rocket of ISRO, that is Launch Vehicle Model 3 Mark 5, which was previously called as GSLV Mark 3, but now it has been changed to LVM 3. At approximately 4,400 kg, GSAT-7R is India's heaviest indigenously built satellite. Heaviest and indigenously, very important. There can easily be two statement-based questions in the prelims. Okay, built communication satellite. It represents a major leap in India's space-based defense infrastructure and strategic autonomy under the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. This provides a technological Atmanirbharata. Next, GSAT 7 series. You might ask, what is the GSAT 7R? GSAT 7R is the third in the GSAT 7 series. Before this, there were already two. First is GSAT 7. It is a family of satellite which forms communication backbone for India's armed forces. Okay, these satellites provide dedicated, secure, beyond the line of sight connectivity essential for modern network centric warfare. What happened was, the major necessity for this was, this lies in Kargil war. Okay, in Kargil war, when the terrorist or the Pakistan army was lying in the grounds of Kargil region, which was high, like very torrid terraneous region. Okay, that time Indian army or Indian defense forces wanted satellite communication to trace them. But what happened was, it was not provided by USA. Okay, we all know GPS. GPS is the geo positioning system of USA, which can track down like everything around the earth, because that is how significant and how huge USA's satellite network is. But USA disagreed to provide the information to India because USA were allies with Pakistan. So it was then that India understood the necessity of investing in technology for defense. As a result, India focused on IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, or NAVIC, along with GSAT NAVIC, along with GSAT 7 series. Okay. Next, in the GSAT 7, the first one is the GSAT 7, or famously called as Rukmini. It was launched in 2013. It was also launched for Indian Navy. Do not confuse yourself. It was also for Indian Navy. Navy is secure real-time maritime communication. Next was the GSAT 7A. It was launched in 2018. It was for Indian Air Force to provide airborne ground communication support. Now GSAT 7 or CMS-03 is launched in 2025. It is again launched for Indian Navy. It provides enhanced multi-band communication, high bandwidth, and secure links. And then there will be GSAT 7B in the near future, which will be for Indian Army completely, dedicated to Indian Army. And after this series, there will be GSAT C and D, 7C and D, which will take again some time. But by 2027, ISRO has decided to launch this GSAT 7B for Indian Army. Okay, so they are building a constellation for basically Indian Defense Forces. What is the role of GSAT 7R then? It provides secure communication links over multiple frequency bands. There are many frequency bands in the bandwidth such as UHF, SC, Ku, and Ka. Not necessary to remember all those things. Just remember it works in multiple bandwidths. Next, this enables a real-time data exchange between naval platforms, submarines, and aircraft. Okay, it enhances maritime domain awareness, which is critical for monitoring shipping lanes, anti-piracy missions, and deterrence in the Indian Ocean region. That is why it becomes very important. Indian Ocean region is very significant for India, both economically, strategically, and geopolitically. This GSAT 7 or along with GSAT 7 series helps build this maritime domain awareness. That is why it is very important. It offers resilience against jamming or interception using the encrypted communication. Next, it supports joint operations with other services and partners through an integrated communication network. So, GSAT 7R is not merely a communication asset but a strategic force multiplier for India's naval operations. That is why GSAT 7R is very significant. Next, orbital mechanism and operation. As the name suggests, it is Gsat, meaning geosynchronous. Geosynchronous. So, in the very name of geosynchronous suggests that it is in high Earth orbit. Okay, first you have to understand. In Earth orbits, where the satellites are placed, the orbits are divided into three. First is, if this is Earth, first is the near one. This is called as low Earth orbit, which will be between 200 to 2000 kilometer distance. And then there is middle Earth orbit, which covers distance of 2000 kilometer to 20,000 kilometers. Okay, any satellite placed in this Earth is or in this orbit is called as medium Earth orbit. And then there is geosynchronous, which is at the distance of 35,786 or approximately 36,000 kilometers away. So this is high Earth orbit, and this is where geosynchronous satellites are placed. Geosynchronous satellites are placed. But one more thing to remember here is our GSAT 7R is not geosynchronous completely, it is actually geostationary. Geostationary. You might ask, what is the difference between geosynchronous and geostationary, sir? The major difference between geosynchronous and geostationary is that I will explain with the example of diagram. This is Earth. I told you this is high Earth orbit. Okay. So there can be n number of orbits. There can be n number of orbits. Okay. Depending on the angle, infinite number of orbits can be made. But one orbit which will be on the equator, an orbit which passes through the equator like this, is called as geostationary. Okay, geostationary. Normally, satellite placed in geosynchronous orbits are called as synchronous because their time to revolve around the Earth is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. This is the exact time taken by the Earth to revolve around itself. Okay, this is the exact time taken by the Earth to revolve around itself. Since these satellites are placed in geosynchronous, they will be covering the same distance, but because satellites placed in this geosynchronous orbit at the equator, that is where the angle, the theta, will be is equal to 0 degree, is covering the distance same, that is 23 hours, 56 minutes, 4 seconds, and this is same as Earth because Earth is traveling at the same distance. Any satellite placed in this particular orbit seems like it is static, seems like it is standing at one location only. It seems like if it is like this Earth, if this is the geostationary orbit, if there is a satellite, because it revolves around the same time or it takes the same time and the Earth takes the same time, it feels like it is standing at one destination only. So it covers the region, only one region, okay, completely at all the times. That is why it is called as geostationary, because it looks like it is static. Okay, very important. The major difference is the angle and the angle. So in geosynchronous, it is normally theta is between 0 to 90, any angle can be there. In geostationary, theta will be 0. Very important to remember. Okay, next moving back to the orbits again. So the orbital type, Orbital type here is the satellite was placed into geosynchronous transfer orbit by the LVM-3 rocket. From there, it will use its onboard propulsion system to move into final geostationary orbit. First, it will be in geosynchronous, and then it will be pushed to geostationary orbit at an altitude of around 35,786 kilometers above Earth. GTO or geosynchronous transfer orbit is an elliptical orbit used as a transfer path to reach GEO, that is geostationary orbit. GEO is a geostationary orbit which is a circular orbit. One more difference between geosynchronous and geostationary is geosynchronous can be elliptical, can be circular, but geostationary is always circular and always at the angle of 0 degree. Orbit directly above the Earth's equator, where a satellite appears stationary related to the Earth's rotation. Okay, hope this is clear for you. Next, moving on, why GEO for defense satellites? Why do we need to keep satellites or communication satellites in geostationary orbit? It provides continuous coverage of specific area, which is ideal for communication, weather, and surveillance of satellites. It ensures constant link stability for naval vessels moving across the Indian Ocean region. Okay, it requires fewer ground stations to maintain connectivity. Okay, since it is at the geosynchronous orbit and it is stationary, it covers larger area, and since it is a geostationary, it covers only a particular area, that is Indian Ocean region, all the time. Okay, by achieving a standard GTO insertion and subsequent orbit raising maneuvers indigenously, ISRO has demonstrated mastery in heavy satellite placement and orbit management precision. These are not as easy as it sounds, because placing a satellite from one orbit to another orbit by thrusters, it takes a high level of technology that ISRO has achieved. Next, the launch vehicle is the launch vehicle model 3, which is India's heaviest workforce or workhorse, heavy lift workhorse. It is also called as Bahubali of ISRO. Bahubali of ISRO. It was formerly known as GSLV Mark III. The launch vehicle Mark III is India's most powerful operational rocket. It is a three-stage launch vehicle capable of placing 4 to 4.5 tons into GTO and up to 8 tons into low Earth orbit. Okay, so Indian launch vehicles are divided into GSLV and PSLV, and the recent one SSLV. What is this SSLV? SSLV is small satellite launch vehicles, and then PSLV polar satellite launch vehicles, and GSLV geosynchronous satellite launch vehicles. So major difference between PSLV like these two is that it is used for low Earth orbits, this is used for high Earth orbits, and both are four-stage engines, four-stage rockets. Okay, but this LVM is only three-stage rocket. Though it has only three stages, it is more powerful than both of these combined. Okay, next, configuration. The first stage of this is two large solid boosters providing the main thrust at the airlift, and in the second stage is L100, L110, which is a liquid core which uses Vikas engines, and the third stage is C24, that is cryogenic upper stage, which uses CE20 engine, which is a major indigenous achievement allowing heavy payload delivery. Previously, India didn't have mastery in the cryogenic engines. India used to import cryogenic engines from Russia, but later India developed its own cryogenic engines and is now self-sufficient in cryogenic engines. And significance of LVM-3 in Geosat launch was that it successfully carried India's heaviest communication satellite from Indian soil, reducing the dependency on foreign launchers like Ariane 5. Next, demonstrated operational maturity of LVM-3 in placing 4-ton plus satellites in GTO, strengthens Gaganyaan program, as the same rocket is going to be used for Indian astronauts to send Indian astronauts to space. Okay, in Gaganyaan, the aim is to send Indian Voyomanautes or astronauts to space. So the launch vehicle being used in Gaganyaan is again launch vehicle model 3. Though the people being sent there are only to low Earth orbit, despite that, because of the number of people and the significance of the program, significance of this mission, LVM-3 has been used or has been designated as a launch vehicle for Gaganyaan mission. Next, strategic and technological significance. For defense and security, it enhances India's maritime communication and control architecture. It boosts operational readiness and real-time situational awareness. For the Navy, it supports tri-services integration under initiatives like the Chief of Defense Staff and the Theatre Command Structure. Very important. And then technological self-reliance. Entirely indigenous design and fabrication, which is a step towards reducing strategic import dependency, especially in the key strategic areas like defense. Next, reflects the synergy between ISRO, DRDO, BEL, and Indian Navy in space defense integration. Next, geopolitical impact enhances India's blue water capabilities, especially which is vital for the Indo-Pacific security. Indo-Pacific region is one of the most contested regions in the world at the moment. So this particular satellite helps India to gauge Indian Ocean region and protect the Indian Ocean region properly. Next, strengthens India's deterrence, surveillance postures against the regional adversaries. Next, symbolic of India's emergence as a space power with defense integration. Next is economic and industrial impact. It showcases maturity of India's satellite manufacturing ecosystem, provides opportunities for private participation under the in-space framework. Okay, so this is about GSAT 7. And the road ahead is in the future we can expect GSAT 7C for IAF or Indian Air Force and GSAT 7D potential for the Army are reportedly under planning, aiming for a fully integrated tri-service satellite communication network. And ISRO is developing next generation LVM3 variants with the reusable stages and higher payload capacity. Future GSAT missions may incorporate AI-based communication routing, quantum encryption, and inter-satellite links. Okay, so in conclusion, successful launch of GSAT 7R is not just a technological event, it is a strategic milestone in India's quest for self-reliant space-enabled defense systems. It underscores how India's space program has evolved from launching weather satellites to powering real-time defense communication networks that secure the nation's maritime frontiers. By combining indigenous innovation, heavy lift launch capability, and defense application, ISRO's GSAT 7R mission has firmly placed India among the few nations capable of integrating space power with maritime security. So that is the significance of GSAT 7R launch. I think I have covered this topic holistically from the static part to the current part. So if you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.